Hey guys, Kamina the coach here. I look a hot mess because I keep forgetting to do these videos when I leave from school. So if you are an educator, you know that the first thing you want to do when you get out of the house, get into the house, is get off those kid-ridden clothes, sweaty, nasty clothes. Probably if you're in the United States right now or anywhere there's a winter, you're probably not sweating at school, but I just happen to be in a very warm place in Mexico right now, so I had to get those off. I'm also pretty shiny here in the face, just again, because I just got home from school. But I am Kamina the coach. If you haven't followed the channel, the first several years this channel was geared to help people get ready to work and live abroad, specifically teachers, because that's my experience, but I've worked with everybody. COVID forced me back into the United States, so I kind of switched the gears of the channel and really started working on mental health and well-being, addressing my early childhood trauma related to adoption. So here we are in December 5th, 2022, and I am back into teaching abroad. So this channel will be a little mixture of mental health and working to teach abroad. And for those of us getting out of the United States, a lot of being able to get out of the United States is related to mental health, because there is some ingrained trauma in us that keeps us afraid of leaving. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and hop into today's subject. So last week I made a comment in my teachers group about not paying recruiters. I can't speak about the contractor world, but as far as I know, I've never ever heard of anyone paying a recruiting service. Now, when might you send money to a recruiter? So I have worked with a woman named Michelle something or another. I believe her company is M2R. In the Middle East, a lot of the companies that recruit still exist today. In China, it's just so massive, you just never can tell who you're going to be working with. But a lot of the companies that work within the Middle East have been there for a really long time, or at least my experience. So I've been doing this since 2010-ish, and I've actually worked with the same recruiters several times for the Middle East. So again, when might you send a recruiter money? So I didn't actually send Michelle the money. What it is she had a visa officer working for her. So I got hired to teach at a university in Saudi Arabia, and I don't know if they're still doing them, but they used to have a business visa and constantly revolving visa processes changing in every country, especially post-COVID, during and post-COVID. So this was pre-COVID, and even then, business visas, business with permission to work visa. I've entered into Saudi Arabia 2 different times on that. So I would go to Bahrain, and they would process. It would take about a day to process a business visa that would be stamped into my passport. So then I'd be able to enter in and out of Saudi Arabia without a travel visa, which you need, or you used to need, for an Iqama. I don't know what it is now. An Iqama is residency in Saudi Arabia, and again, used to be a very long, drawn out, really long, drawn out process. I don't know what the process anymore is. I've worked in Saudi Arabia 3 different times. Only one time I had an Iqama, and the other 2 times I had a business visa. So anyways, I was stuck in Hong Kong trying to go to work in China, and got a job offer in Saudi Arabia while I was stuck in Hong Kong. And so I had to send my passport to her visa guy so that he could go to the Saudi embassy to apply for my business visa. So I PayPal'd him the money for my visa. The visa was not granted on 2 different occasions, so then he eventually sent the money back to me. That's a very sketch, dangerous type of situation. The reason why I did that with her is because I've worked with Michelle on several different occasions, and I know M2R to be a reputable company, or else I would not have done that. So very, very sketch. Another time when, not a recruiter, but another time that you might spend some money is TIS or TES. There is a website for international schools that you might pay for a subscription to a website to have access to better jobs. So that's a K through 12 licensed teacher thing. Not something that I would consider because I am not a K through 12 teacher. I am not licensed. Normally, I am a curriculum designer, teacher trainer, or higher education. So there's no international school that's going to hire me. I know. I was just trying to think of any instance where that might be, but there's no instance where that would be. And honestly, I don't want to work in that setting anyways. So unless you're paying for a subscription to a reputable site, and I would definitely ask the forum, like ask a teachers group before you subscribe to something. So I know that some of my teachers and American Teachers of Color will subscribe to some groups, but I mean to subscribe to a forum or two. But again, because I'm not a licensed K through 12 teacher, I can't tell you which ones. So these are the only two times I can think of that you're spending money valid. It's a valid expenditure of money. So again, I did send money, but I didn't send money to the recruiter. I sent money to the visa agent, and the visa was not granted, so I got my money back. I have seen, so here's the reason why recruiters don't get the money from you. The recruiters get the money from the school. Recruiters get the money from the school depending on, so you could be a direct hire to a school, or you could be contracted through a company to the school. So in China, a lot of times these companies are hiring people directly to the school, or they act as an intermediary. So you are paid by the company, and the company is responsible for your behavior and management of you, and you work at whatever school they've contracted you out to. And when I worked in China, I worked directly for a school once, and I worked for a company and was contracted out to a government school once. So I worked for an international Canadian school once, and then I worked for a government high school the first time, contracted through another company. In Saudi Arabia, I worked for a school once, so a private college once, and then worked through an intermediary company for a university on 2 different occasions. So if you are going through a recruiter, if you are not getting hired directly by the school, the recruiter gets their money from the school. Don't let a recruiter tell you you need to send them any money. If they're telling you that, move on. And I understand the United States is getting into a situation where you're feeling like you dire need to get out of there. But if you're a licensed K through 12 teacher, even as an ESL teacher, to be honest, there's plenty of work out there. If you're a licensed teacher, you will not have problem getting a job that will give you a flight ticket. ESL teachers are struggling in that area more than ever because there's been a big slowdown of work for ESL teachers, especially in the Middle East, which was popping back in the day. If you go back and look at my channel, I told you this on my channel when I was talking about getting licensed, getting higher education. Regardless of whether COVID was coming or not, a slowdown in the ESL world was inevitable. It had to happen. A saturation had to happen, and you had to make yourself more marketable. But anyways, no matter how desperate you are, if somebody is asking you to pay money, I would bet apples to oranges. That's not really a thing, right? Sorry, I'm tired. I would just bet 9 times out of 10 that it's gonna be a scam. And I would not advise you to pay money. Keep it going. Come to a group like mine and ask for advice. Do a search. The internet is really powerful for people like us these days. Do not pay a recruiter to get you a job. There are tons of jobs on the internet. Do a Google search. Teaching jobs in Mexico, teaching jobs in China. See, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. I am tired. I'm gonna put my feet up. Teaching kids wears me out. So until next time, this is Kamina the coach sending you a love, light, peace, and joy. I'm out.